It's Get Out of Here. I'm Warren Levinson. We're in the gift-giving season. Pretty much everyone who travels has that one little thing, or maybe it's a big thing, that helps ease the way on lengthy flights or camping trips or long car rides with the family. For our gift guide, we're going back to one of our favorite pairs of experts, Mike and Ann Howard of honeytrek.com. You may remember them from their first appearance on this show in February of last year. They're the couple who decided that their 2012 honeymoon was going to be epic. It was. Or, we should say, it is. It continues. Nearly 8 years and 60 countries later, Ann and Mike Howard are still on the trip they launched with that honeymoon. They have a blog. They've just published their second book called Comfortably Wild about glamping. We'll talk about it. And like many travelers who live in this space, they've got some gift advice for the traveler on your list. They joined us from southern Utah, where they're house sitting. The top of the list I saw will do something very simple, Nalgene bottles. Explain what makes this a good gift and explain why this is something that has been good for you in your travels.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one that's super near and dear to our heart. I mean, we've all heard, single-use plastics are just taking over our water supplies and ocean, and it's now found in almost every fish and food that we eat. So, it's a big issue that we're trying to tackle from a traveler's perspective. And aside from the convenience of having a water bottle with you at all times on an airplane and the cost savings of that, to us, removing that single-use plastic from the stream is hugely valuable. And the way we pair that and would recommend anybody.
Well, one more note on the Nalgene is that, a water bottle, we literally have, this is the one item besides our car keys that we have on us at all times, pretty much. And, we all own water bottles, right? But Nalgene actually just came out with a customizer tool. So you can upload your own photos and put your own graphics and have it mean something more than just a thing you carry around, but have it tell your story of a favorite trip you took. You would give it to a friend who just completed a marathon with their photo over the finish line, and it's a really personal gift, and the quality is amazing. It's not like some drugstore printout job. It's embossed lettering, and the quality on the photo transfer is phenomenal. So we actually made one with our North America road trip map, which is near and dear to us and a story that we always tell, and then we have it with us when we meet somebody new. Or we made one to kind of commemorate launching our new book, Comfortably Wild, as well, with our favorite glamping camp on it. So it's a really cool way to do both of give an environmental type gift, but one that's fun and tells a story and gives you great memories of your travels.
Plus, personalizing it means if you leave it behind somewhere, it's easier to track down.
True story, yeah.
And not valuable to the next person because they don't want a photo of my road trip on it. But I was starting to say that the other thing that we pair our Nalgene with, and we've done this for the last 7.5 years of our trip, we've actually been through 60 countries, and in 59 of those countries, we have not consumed a single-use bottle of plastic water in 7.5 years. And the way we do that is we pair our Nalgene with a little thing called a SteriPen, and you fill up your Nalgene, you dip your SteriPen in there, and we do it in bus stations.
It's a UV light filter.
It's a UV light. And we've done it in bus stations in Cambodia, in Brazil and in Rio. We've done it all over the world in any water supply, and that is how we've drank a liter or two per person per day on our trip.
Because people think, it was kind of initially positioned as like, a backcountry essential so you can drink out of streams. Well, no, when you go to a developing country and you can't drink out of the faucet, even somebody who's maybe conscious about, filling up their water bottle at home is like, oh, I don't want to risk it abroad. Well, we've risked it 1,000,000 times over abroad and have never gotten sick from water with our SteriPen. And then combo with our Nalgene, you've kind of got your arsenal ready to go for clean drinking water on the fly.
I wondered about that because it seemed to me that the SteriPen would in some ways maybe give you a false sense of security, that there would just be some water that it would not be able to overcome. But what you're saying here is, not that we've experienced.
No, it does. It does. If you go on their website, and they're scientists, like they're not in it to try and make a ton of money on it. It's a company called Katadyn that runs SteriPen, and they've tested these things, and it kills 99.99% of protozoa, bacteria, everything like Giardia. You hear people not wanting to drink out of streams, and literally, like I said, it was February 15th when we gave up of 2012. when we gave up single-use plastic water.
I think partly because we had just come from the Amazon. I'm like, let's see how far we can push this thing. No one should really drink out of the Amazon River. Definitely saw a lady washing her clothes just upstream, and we drank it, just kind of for the shock of, like, how far can we test it? You can drink the Amazon River. You can drink any water.
Okay, keep the piranhas out of it. That's
tasty,
good.
But it doesn't mean we're still living, so.
You also refer to something called, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right, italki. To learn a foreign language, or at least to improve your skills in a foreign language?
Absolutely, because there's no better way to learn a language from a native speaker and having real conversations. You can, read through books and listen to tapes, but it's really like training your mouth and training your mind to be able to, like, work on, like, to have a chat on the fly. So what it is basically, they have 10,000 teachers on their website. You can drill down by, the country, for example. So if I'm planning a trip to Argentina, well, that's a really different accent than Spain or Mexico. So I can start to learn about what an Argentine accent sounds like. I can also get local tips about the places I'm going from a local. And it's awesome because you can do a trial. So, for $1, you can have a little sample class with somebody to see if they're the right fit. Because it's a personality thing. You're making a friend. And there's some community teachers, but there's a lot of legit professional teachers on there for really affordable rates.
Here's another one, a picnic blanket. That seems like the sort of thing that it would be great to have when you're out traveling, but it also seems like that would be the sort of thing that would just take up too much space in whatever it is you're carrying.
Yeah, the one that we're fans of is called Matador Pocket Blanket, and it packs up really tiny. It's down to 4 inches by 2.5 inches by 1 inch. So it's really tiny, and it packs into this little sleeve. And we just always have it in our day pack because even if you're not going for a picnic, the amount of times that you want to just sit down maybe in some wet grass, or we were just out in Moab and there was snow on the ground, and we just had our blanket with us, so we just sat down in the snow and had lunch when normally you'd have to try and find a dry rock or just eat standing up. So it's not that you just need to be having a picnic. We've used it at concerts. We use it when we go to the beach, if you forget a big blanket. So there's a lot of times or the stadium seat's wet, so we just always have it in the bottom of our backpack and don't really even think about packing it. And it's so tiny and light. I think it weighs like 1.5 ounces. So.
Kind of doubles as rain gear, too. Because it's water repellent. So if you were carrying around a tech bag or just putting it over your head, it's sort of a handy thing to have. And you look at the photo on the website, you're like, I'm never going to get that perfect square back into that small bag. It shoves down to nothing. So you don't need to stress about, like, packing it just right to get it small again.
Reasonably easy to keep clean?
Sure.
Yeah. Machine washable.
Okay. I see on your list e-bikes, and of course, I'm going to come up, and anything related to bicycles, I'm certainly going to focus on. First time I saw people on vacation on electronic bikes or electric bikes, I was in Maine, and I thought, man, what a bunch of weenies. And then one day I encountered the pedal assist bikes in the city bike fleet in New York. And all of a sudden, it felt like my life had changed. I still don't own a pedal assist bike, but the idea of a bicycle that you can ride and not appear at all of your destinations late, damp, and fragrant is like that's really kind of great.
Brilliant, right? And it's kind of like, I don't bike every day. I have great ambitions to be a long-distance biker, but I'm not. And you feel like a superhero when you get on one of these things. We were out biking in San Luis Obispo all day. We see this mountain. We're like, what can these bikes do? We tried the Rad Power bikes and the foldable fat bikes. So you're thinking, like, I don't have storage for this. Well, they pack down in half. And we went up a mountain on an e-bike and had no problem. So it really was empowering. Went all day. So it's a great tool because, say you're out of the biking game, it gives you this confidence to be like, yeah, I can, to explore farther. It's also environmentally friendly. There's so many things about it, and they're lots of fun.
And the other thing is, you alluded to it when you said pedal assist. I think a lot of times when people hear e-bike, and I'm the same way as you, I look at e-bikers and I'm like, oh, that's cheating. Like, I don't even want to put it in the gift guide because, like, people should just be on a real bike getting exercise. But once you do an e-bike, and you realize that you do still need to pedal to get the bike going, and you can pedal as much or as little as you want, especially if you want to save your battery. Like when we were in San Luis Obispo, on a regular pedal bike without assist, we might have been able to do 5 or 10 miles up and down the beach exploring. But on the pedal assist bike, with helping a little bit, again, to save our battery, I think we ended up going like 26 or 28 miles of the coast, so we almost doubled or tripled the amount of stuff we could see. And I still think in the end I got the same workout as if I did a non-assist bike for 12 miles, but biking 30 miles, assisting a little bit, I was just able to increase the stuff I saw and still get a workout at the same time. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. People who ride for exercise look at them and think, well, I can't get the kind of exercise that I could otherwise. I mean, I ride for transportation mainly, but people who ride for exercise think, well, that there's just, it's too much cheating in exercise. But yes, you ride farther and you get to see more and you get to do more. And it's kind of wonderful.
No, totally.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about your book after the break, but you do have one book on your list that's somebody else's, 10 Years a Nomad by Matthew Kepner. Tell me why that's a good gift.
Now, Matt is, Nomadic Matt has a very successful travel blog. He's been in the scene more than 10 years and has lived all lifestyles of being a nomad. And he's written many, many travel guides, but this was when he kind of really opened up. And he's a successful dude, and he let himself be vulnerable. And I feel like he had a lot of points about the fears of travel, the learning curve of travel that we all go through, and the humility and humor in the book I was really impressed with. It's a great read, and kind of, there's just lessons we learn from travel that no other form of education can offer. And I think he shows that no matter what level of traveler you are, there's a lot to learn from that in that book.
Sounds like he's an inspiration to you all as well.
Yeah, he's a buddy as well, and it was great to see him open up that way.
We can't talk about gift guide for travelers without mentioning something along in the area of luggage. So is there a piece of luggage that makes a really good gift this time of year?
So a piece of luggage, everybody likes to talk about different wheelie bags and duffels, and we actually do have a duffel on our gift guide if anybody checks it out. It's an Eagle Creek that we really like. But one of the pieces of luggage that doesn't get talked about too much, but we think is an invaluable resource / hack for a traveler is a really tight-fitting tote bag. And there's one called Enviro Sack that packs up super tiny. The thing can hold, I think it can hold over 40 pounds of weight. So if you go and buy a bunch of trinkets that don't fit in your luggage on your way home, or you get to the airport and they tell you, hey, you're 15 pounds over the weight limit, well, we always have this little pack right next to our picnic blanket, and it packs up even tinier than that. And it's always in a side pocket. And if we come across something we need to carry, or we've got wet clothes from the beach or dirty laundry and we're going to the laundromat, or we're going to the local market and we want to pick up veggies, we always just have this little Enviro Sack. It's like $10, and it's every
color under the sun, pattern. And it's kind of like, you're probably thinking like, oh, another tote bag. We all own too many tote bags. I would chuck them all for just this one. And honestly, we're house sitting now in Utah, and the homeowner's leaving the next morning, and she asked for a professional opinion as she was about to get on the plane, and she's like weighing her luggage and trying to figure it all out. I was like, take this. And I gave her an extra one that I had, so that she was able to kind of reconfigure her carry-on and be able to have the overflow and then make it disappear, because you don't want to have a bag just to then be schlepping it as an extra piece of luggage. It can vanish. It's 1.4 ounces. So it's no big deal. It's just a great kind of backup plan.
Wow.
And overflow plan.
Wow, that sounds great. You're listening to Get Out of Here, the AP Travel Podcast. We're talking with Mike and Ann Howard, the world's longest honeymooners. They run honeytrek.com and have been traveling together starting with their honeymoon in 2012. We'll have more after a break. It's Get Out of Here, the AP Travel Podcast. I'm Warren Levinson, talking with Mike and Ann Howard. We have to now talk about your own book. You have a second book out called Comfortably Wild, a guide to glamping in North America. So, well, let's be basic here at first. What do you consider glamping?
So I'm going to say for us, it's about access to nature and making more people fall in love with the great outdoors. Camping can be really cumbersome for a lot of people, and it's like schlepping gear and, starting a fire, on and on. I think it's deterred a lot of people from just experiencing the beauty of, getting out there and sleeping under the stars. But now glamping makes that accessible and comfortable and fun. And to us, it was all about access to nature and amazing outdoor experiences. So while glamorous camping has traditionally been the definition of glamping. To us, it's just making people fall in love with the outdoors.
And what kind of destinations are we talking about? I mean, are we talking about places that are, it's just, all the work is done for you, or what have you got?
Yeah, I mean, there's places, we did 9 different countries in North America. So we're talking all the way from Costa Rica, all the way to the Arctic Circle, including the Caribbean, all over the U.S., Canada. So it's a very wide range of places. The prices in the book range from, there's one place in the book in Jamaica that's $35 a night, including breakfast, and ranging all the way up to Relais Chateau and Forbes 5-star lodges and Nat Geo lodges of the world in there. So it's the full range, and with those prices and experiences comes also a range of experiences that you want to have. There are places where you can bring your own food and cook over an open fire, and there's also places where there's 4 different restaurants on site, or you can take a covered wagon to a restaurant out in the woods. So it's a wide range of experiences, and we kind of break out the book like that.
Now, we've camped, and it's great to be out in nature, but there is a lot of work that you don't do in your regular life because it's all organized in terms of, cooking and your housing, and it's both kind of fun to be able to just sort of rough it, and it takes up a lot of your day.
Yeah, and that's why we gave a range, because sometimes there is a joy of cooking over an open flame, and some people still want that. But depending on what you need right now, what your group is craving, you can choose. That's why we kind of gave these different symbols, so if you're going to be cooking for yourself, if there's going to be Wi-Fi, if it's handicap accessible. We wanted, and if you can bring your dog, we want it to be a really inclusive experience. But yeah, no matter what, it should be comfortable. It should have a creative structure. There's a sense of like awe and wonder and wow that comes from glamping, because it's tree houses, it's Airstream trailers, it's yurts, we stayed in structures made entirely of ice. Old cabooses. I mean, there's a story that's being told there. And this book wasn't, created like a directory. Actually, it was largely about the creative individuals who came up with this wacky idea to, build something unique and go way out of their way to share it with guests. So,
well, tell us a story about one of them. Tell us a story about one of them, about who decided that, this is a thing I can offer to people that I would love to be in, and I've never seen anybody stay in something like this, like a caboose or like a yurt, or, well, people stay in yurts, but.
Well, we'll say, since you brought up the caboose, this was a couple who they went to school in Roanoke, and so they had a love of Virginia, and they were just driving through the mountains between 2 national forests, and they kind of stumbled upon this forgotten train town. Like, it was a whistle-stop town that had stopped in the 30s, and it still had the old station. It had the manager's cabin and all these things, and the general store from 100 years ago, and this place was falling apart. Like the station was full of grain feed and, weird mechanical parts. And they're like, someone's got to preserve this. And so they have painstakingly restored the train station. And it's also been this whole story of like finding people who ever took the train, finding original tickets, and, just sort of telling the tales of what once was there. And yeah, we stayed in what was an old caboose, and it is like the most charming thing ever. But they also have fabulous glamping tents too, where you might have your own private pond and be able to fish from it. Or they have another one where you have your own stream, and in the morning they deliver you a picnic basket with fresh baked goods and hot coffee. And there's just like an attention to detail there that makes it feel magical, and that you're also preserving this history by being there.
We stayed in an old train once for a couple of nights with the kids in Nova Scotia, and it was a little hot there, but, it was, we still talk about it. So, yeah.
I want to add in 2 things on the glamping front. Why, to us, like this book, why Comfort of the Wild was such a journey. It took us 3 years road tripping. We road tripped over 56,000 miles to personally review these properties. And why it's so important to us, there's 2 main reasons why. One is, I think the environment needs our protection more than ever right now, and the way that people are going to want to put their might and their muscle behind protecting it is to actually get out there and experience it and see how beautiful this nature is. And these families that are starting these glamping properties want to share something truly special with their guests. And it's not just a hotel trying to turn a profit. They're there because they want to share a beautiful land and experience in nature with you.
And how to live really simply, too. Most of them are off the grid. I mean, it's amazing how when you're there and you're comfortable and you realize you're not lacking for anything, even though there might not be mainstream power or always even running water, and you realize you're living quite comfortably and with less.
Yeah, is glamping an unfortunate word, combining glamour and camping?
It's such an unfortunate word. I feel like we battle this world all day long because it's not about glamour at all. It's about, being comfortable, but getting out there and having awesome experiences.
The second thing I was going to say about glamping and why it's so important is for our personal growth. I think we all know, and we read articles constantly about digital detox and how connected we are to our phones, and we've all been at Thanksgiving dinner and seen 5 of the adults at the table all looking at their phone at the same time, and it's sad. And, there's one stat in the beginning of the book. We do a lot of research on different studies that says that the average American child gets 7 minutes of unstructured play outdoors. That doesn't include sports and recess, but 7 minutes of playing on their own outdoors. And that same average American child spends over 400 minutes on screen time, either laptops or cell phones or a tablet in the grocery store. And that is not too far off for adults either. Like we need to get out there. We need to reconnect with this land and check
and
out
each other. Just have an excuse. And when you get around a campfire, you just start talking. You start noticing things. You see stars. You notice a bird. You hear sounds. It's getting in tune with our senses and each other.
Screens down is always a good goal for personal interaction, I find.
Yeah.
What qualifies as glamping and what doesn't? Because it's not just sort of a certain amount of comfort within tents. It's, as you say, tree houses and other structures. So at what point does it just become a hotel?
Well, that's the thing and part of the reason why it was important to write this book is that it's become very popular and a lot of people are just jumping on the bandwagon. A lot of, big box hotels are experimenting with it too. And I mean, to us personally, it's got to have a sense of character and that they're doing something unique and they're doing something with intention and being mindful of, the footprint on the land and connecting people. So it's not just about a pretty tent in the woods. It's really not. It's got to have a real context. It's a new way to vacation. It's a new way to experience the outdoors, not just, what's going to look pretty on Instagram.
Oh, that's great. Ann Howard, Mike Howard, thank you so much for being with us. This has been fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Ann and Mike Howard are the brains behind honeytrek.com, the travel business that grew out of their epic honeymoon. They are the authors of Ultimate Journeys for Two and now Comfortably Wild, a guide to the best glamping in North America. They've put 58,000 miles on a vintage camper over the last 3 years. The Howards also report they bring bocce balls with them everywhere. Now, bocce does not strike us as a traveling game, but we have not been traveling for 8 years nonstop, so there is that. And now, my favorite trip. You may remember actor Tim Dolan from a couple of weeks ago. He's the founder of Broadway Up Close, which does walking and historic tours in New York's theater district, and he recently added one that takes visitors behind the scenes, inside Broadway's oldest theater. Tim Dolan's favorite trip dates from the beginning of his performing career.
My first job out of college, I was a cruise ship singer on Norwegian Cruise Lines, so inherently you're traveling a lot to the same places, and it's paradise, but the same paradise every Thursday in Cancun or wherever you are. But there was one day we did something really special, and I remember I called my mom after and I said, I think that was probably one of the best days of my entire life. It was in Belize City, Belize, is where we ported every Wednesday. And one of the other singers in the show had chartered a special little 4-seater plane. And the 4 of us that were the singers in the show on the boat, all the other cruise ship passengers are going to the shore excursions, and we went to this little tiny charter plane. And we got on this plane, and they flew us, over our ship, which was cool to see our cruise ship from above, just kind of sitting in the ocean. And I had no idea, I just was like, here's my money. I don't know what we're doing, but it sounds fun. It sounds cool. And she was like, I planned the whole day. It's great. It'll be great. And so we get on this little bumpy plane flying through the air, and we landed on Francis Ford Coppola, had a airstrip, landing strip in this one part of Belize, which I don't understand really. And we landed, and we got in a Jeep that took us like through the rainforest essentially, and we came out, and there was this ginormous waterfall, and we all like dived off this waterfall, and the local guy was like, no one's ever swam to the bottom, no one's ever been able, we don't know how deep it is, so no matter, you'll be fine if you jump in. And then we went from there to like these waterfall rock formation slip and slide thing, and it was basically like a natural like water slide, and you went down and you landed in these pools. I think it was called the Two Sisters was the name of this like and there's no one else. It's just us and this local guide in Belize. And then we went into the rainforest, and then we had some rice and beans, and it rained out of nowhere, stops raining, and then they were like, great, let's go back to the ship. And that was like, still to this day, one of the most random, spontaneous, best things I've ever done. And it was pre-social media, so it was like, I don't have any. I think I have one photo from the day when we got back, but I didn't have a camera. I didn't have like a phone to take all these pictures, and so in my mind, it's just like, it's rare, I think, to have trips that you only remember because of the memory, not because of the photos and the souvenirs. And that's for whatever reason. When you say what's a trip that sticks in your mind, that is what sticks in my mind. That was 2005.
Tim Dolan is an actor and the brains behind Broadway Up Close, the walking tour company. And that's the show. Get Out of Here is a production of the Associated Press in partnership with Westwood One, produced under the supervision of Nikessa Moody and Peter Costanzo. I'm Warren Levinson. We'll see you next time.